My husband had to wear the dress for me so I could create the effect that I wanted. Okay, guys, you're very welcome to my YouTube channel. For my returning subscribers, I appreciate you so much. If you're new here, kindly subscribe to the channel and join the family. Thank you so much. Okay, let's get into the video. So right here, we're going to be starting with the down part. So I've folded my fabric and I'm taking away 16 inches. So that is what I'm doing here. 16 inches is her half cut. That's the waistline. So, and I'm going ahead to mark the full length of the tape. That's for her full length. So, this dress is more like, it's A-line with tail at the down part. So I marked 15 inches down here and I'm connecting it with my ruler. Then after that, I came up here to this waistline and I'm going to take her waist measurement. Her waist is 28 divided by 4, giving us 7. So I'm going to mark 7 inches here and then add 1 inch for sewing allowance. This 1 inch is because the fabric is actually very stretchy and that is why I'm adding just 1 inch. At the end of the day, that 1 inch was even too much. So right here, I marked her knee point, which is 25, and I came up by 3 inch because of ease, so I should be able to work. This is an A-line gown, so it's good. If we don't come up by that 3 inch, it's going to hold at the knee, and she won't be able to work very well. So I came up by 3 inches from that her new length. So right here, I'm taking my hip measurement. The hip is 38 divided by 4. I just marked it there, and then at this new point, it's the hip divided by 4. You won't add any allowance, but at the hip point I added 1 inch allowance, just like I did at the waist point. But at this new point I didn't add any allowance. I just did her hip divided by 4 and I marked it there. So that's how we got that curve, then connected it to the down part and then cut it out. So right here, we're going to be cutting the back part. I've folded the fabric for the back panel and I've placed the front panel on it. So after you have placed it, leave about 3 to 4 inches at the back before placing your front panel. So right here, I am marking the new length, like the knee length. I am marking it across so that from there, I'm going to take my zipper allowance measurement, right? So that's what I'm doing here. So from that point I marked, I'm going to measure 1.5 inches all the way to the up part. That is going to serve as the zipper allowance. So I was done marking the 1.5 inch. I used my ruler to connect it. And now the next thing is, from this tip of the front panel, I'm going to make a straight, more like a triangle line down just to meet the tip of the back panel. Just watch what I'm doing here. So if you have your curve rule, then you can use your curve rule. But since I don't have a long curve rule, I just drew that straight line just to guide me to make a curve, because I'm curving this. This is the tail that is at the back of the dress, the tail. So that straight line I made is just to help me to curve that tail very well, because it's not supposed to be straight like that. So I'm curving it. Sorry if you're not seeing my chalk very well, but the chalk is actually red. I don't know why it's not very visible. But when we cut it out, you will see how the curve, the shape is. So from that knee point, from that 1.5 inches I marked earlier for the zipper, I made this connection, like I slanted my ruler all the way down to meet the tip of this back panel. When we cut it, you will see how it looks like. So just connect it like that and then we cut it out. So guys, this is how it is after I was done cutting it. So I measured the down part and it was 12 inches. So here I am going ahead to cut the upper part, that's the half length. So I measured 16 inches here, which is her half length. I removed 4 inches before placing my tape to get 16 inches. I don't know if you understand. It's an off-shoulder dress, right? So I removed 4 inches from above and then got my half length, which is 16 inches down. So I'm marking that line across, which is the chest line. That's what I just marked there. Then here is my bust point. I'm just marking the bust point across. Then the next thing here is the under bust. This line I want to mark now, this one is the under bust. That is what I'm marking. And then finally the waistline. That's what I'm marking here. The waistline, the waist is 16 inches, the half cut is 16 inches. So I just marked it now. What I'm doing here now is marking her shoulder measurement. The shoulder is 7.5 and I just marked it there. Then I'm taking her nipple to nipple, that's bust span measurement, and the nipple to nipple is 4 inches. So I'm going to mark these 4 inches at the chest line, the bust point on the bust, and then the waistline all the way down. So I'm marking for 4 inches all the way down. So after marking all the 4 inches all the way through, I connected it with my ruler, and then right here at the waistline, I went in by 1 inch and then also 1 inch at the other side. Then on this chest line, I'm doing the same thing, 1 inch in, 1 inch out. Then at the under bust here, I repeat the same thing, 1 inch. So I'm going to use my straight ruler to connect everything, then curve it into my bust point. So this small ruler, I'm connecting the line I made at the waistline and the under bust together. After connecting it, then I'll curve these lines into my bust point, just like I'm doing here. So this is my small curve rule. I'm using it to curve it into the bust point. So before I continue, I had to mark out my armhole. So from that shoulder line, I marked a straight line down and then I'm curving my armhole here. Then after I was done with that, from my chest line, I came up by 2 inches. From that chest line, I came up by 2 inches. Then used my ruler to connect it from that armhole area. I'll connect it straight to the other side, that's the center front, which is what I'm doing here. So from the chest line came up by 2 inches and then connected it all the way to the center front. And then that 4 inches line I marked, which is the bust span, I make sure I connected it to meet that 2 inches I came up by. So the same thing I did for the chest line, waistline, and on the bust, I did here. That's 1 inch in and out. Then I'm going to connect it to the bust point as well. So I am done connecting it here. I used my curve rule to connect it to my bust point. So right here, I am going to start imputing the body measurement. So at this waistline, I'll mark our waist measurement, which is 7, then add 2 inches, which is what I'm going to cut out at this dart area. Then I'll add 1 inch for the sewing allowance. And I'll repeat the same thing on this chest line. The chest line, I'm going to take her bust measurement, then check what I have at this dart line that I'm going to cut out, replace it there, then add 1 inch for sewing allowance. Then I'm using my ruler to mark everything, the line is straight down, so that I can now cut it out. After the cutting out the armhole area, I didn't cut out the rest. I just used it to cut our back panel. And as you can see, I left 1.5 inch before the front panel, and this is for our zipper allowance. So go ahead and open it. Now it's time to cut the remaining parts of the front panel. So this is how it looks like. So for the effect at the front of the top of the dress, I already have a video of how I cut this circle and how I pleated it. So I'll leave the link below so that you can see it if you haven't seen the video yet. So this, I'm going to add it at the top of the dress after joining. Here I am done joining the dress and all. So I'm going to then join this full circle that I cut out to achieve the effect that I want at the top of the dress. So watch how I'm going to attach it. After I was done attaching it, this is how it looks like. And then to create that effect, I needed a mannequin. I can't do it alone, so my husband volunteered to help. Yeah, here he was just playing with the dress. So this is the effect I was talking about. You know, I used to think I was fatter than my husband, but when he wore this dress, Kai, I could not even zip the dress on him. Oh, but I wear this dress effortlessly. Like I wear it and zip it and still have some allowance on my body because my friend is a little bit, just a little bit bigger than I am. So this is it, guys. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. Okay, thank you. Yeah, my friend caught the bouquet. Yeah, my best said she caught a bouquet. So bye, guys.